replace me.
You're gonna replace me with a robot?
That's the question on a lot of lips and what we'll be discussing in this video. I've helped organizations succeed for decades through all sorts of challenges, but when a business owner asks, will AI replace my employees or should I be upskilling them? They're not only asking a practical question about efficiency, they're asking a much bigger question about the kind of business they are building, the kind of culture that they want to lead, and the kind of intelligence that they believe will matter most to them in the future. And that's why I don't believe the best question to start with is which jobs can AI replace? Perhaps a better question is which human capabilities need to become stronger because AI is now a part of the workplace. Whether we like it, whether we don't like it, it is a part of the workplace. Welcome to Success Redefined. I'm Bella St. John, and in this episode, we're looking at one of the most important questions facing business owners and leaders right now. Will AI replace your employees, or should you be upskilling your team? My view is that the smartest organizations won't begin by asking how many people they can remove. They begin by asking how much more capable their people can become when AI is introduced thoughtfully, intelligently, and with clear expectations to support the organization. That distinction matters because AI can absolutely replace so many different tasks and more effectively. It can draft, it can organize, it can classify, it can compare and rewrite and do all sorts of things that once only a human could do. And pretending otherwise is not going to be helpful. But at the same time, replacing tasks is not the same as replacing the full value of a thoughtful employee. I saw a video recently about an entire restaurant that only has robots. There are no humans around. And while that might be an interesting way to run your restaurant, where's the human element that goes into the creation of the food? A role in an organization is rarely just a list of tasks. A good employee can bring judgment and context and relational awareness and emotional intelligence and just the ability to notice when something doesn't feel right. Those qualities are easy to underestimate when you're looking at a spreadsheet or a process map. And yes, AI is actually getting better and better and better at those. But this is still where I see many businesses risk making poor decisions. They see AI perform part of a person's job and assume this means the person is now less valuable. And in some cases, on a spreadsheet, that may be true, especially if the role is highly repetitive. In many other cases, though, perhaps a better question is whether or not the employee could be freed from these lower value tasks and upskilled into a higher value contribution. The future of work is not only about what AI can do versus what a human can do. It's about what people can do with AI, through AI, beside AI, and sometimes despite of AI. There's a major difference between a team that uses AI passively and one that uses AI intelligently. A passive AI user will take what the tool gives them, assume it's probably good enough. An intelligent AI user questions it, improves it, tweaks it, checks it, or knows when not to use it at all. The number of times I've gone back to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude and just typed in seriously, question mark, question mark, question mark. They know what I mean. And this is why critical thinking is no longer optional. If there is one skill I would place at the center of every AI upskilling conversation, it is critical thinking. Not as an academic concept, not as something people vaguely agree is important, but as a practical workplace capability that affects quality, it affects risks, it affects decision making every single day. Critical thinking is what helps an employee look at an AI-generated answer and ask, is this accurate? Is this relevant? Is this appropriate for this client? Is this in our brand voice? It's what helps someone notice when AI has produced something plausible but wrong, or polished but shallow, or confident but misleading, or efficient but misaligned to your organization's values. It's what protects your business from treating speed as though it's the same thing as intelligence. And that distinction is going to matter more and more and more. I had a conversation years ago when we started, decades ago now, when the education system started to introduce what at the time was called video as text. And we were having a discussion about whether or not watching Leonardo DiCaprio or some actor play a Shakespearean character was the same as reading it. And that was an interesting conversation. But what got me was when this very highly educated educator said, our role is not to teach them how to think. It is to teach them how to find the answer. And I had to leave the conversation at that point because it's like, you've got to be kidding. And introducing AI in business is no different. If you introduce AI into your organization without strengthening critical thinking, you may not become more intelligent as an organization. You may simply become faster at producing work that has not been properly questioned. And that's a very fast downhill slope. That's not progress. And that's also why upskilling needs to go beyond just teaching people how to prompt. Now, don't get me wrong, prompting is one of the most important skills within using AI. And people need to learn how to communicate clearly with AI. And by the way, I've got support materials for that if you'd like to reach out. But prompting alone is not enough. A person can write a really good prompt and still lack the judgment to evaluate the answer. They can generate a report and still miss the fact that the assumptions are weak, or that the report's not actually giving you the information that you need to make an informed decision. That's why AI upskilling needs to include thinking skills, not merely tool skills. Your team needs to understand what AI is good at, what it's not so good at, and where it needs supervision, where human judgment must remain firmly in charge. They need to understand that AI is not a replacement for human responsibility. And this is also why the employee replacement question can become dangerous if it's asked too early. If a leader begins with, who can I replace? The organization will often respond itself with fear and defensiveness. And those sorts of attributes within an organization then have a significant impact on morale. And when morale goes down, error rates go up, and people may pretend to be comfortable while privately worrying that every efficiency improvement is a step toward their own redundancy. And that kind of fear does not create innovation. A more intelligent leadership question is, how can we help our people become more valuable in an AI-supported environment? That question changes the emotional climate. It doesn't deny the reality that AI is here. It does not pretend no roles will change, and it doesn't pretend that some work will change and some tasks will disappear and some people will disappear from your organization. But a human-centered approach is not the same as avoiding these hard decisions. It means making the decisions with clarity and with strategic intelligence, rather than hype or panic or opportunism, or just looking at your bottom line and saying, if I put in this AI, then I can get rid of this number of people and that's going to save me X dollars. It may do in the short term, but there are more metrics, more things to consider with an organization rather than just money in, money out. And so how do you do this? How do you do this effectively? For many businesses, the first practical step is separate tasks from roles. Look at what your team actually does, not just job titles, because job titles are often completely incorrect, but they also hide the reality of the work. Look at the tasks, look at the decisions, look at the relationships and responsibility and points of judgment inside each role. Then ask, which tasks are repetitive enough that AI could support or reduce them? Which tasks require human context or judgment? Which tasks could become more valuable if the employee had AI support? Or which tasks could and perhaps should AI do more effectively and more efficiently? This kind of review prevents simplistic thinking. For example, an employee who spends hours preparing client summaries might be able to use AI to draft the first version. By the way, there's a number of tools for this. Notebook LM is really good for that, for instance. And then they can spend more time interpreting what the summary means for your organization through your organization's eyes. AI does an excellent job of that. But at the moment, it's still not going to replace the human. Chances are it will do at some point, but today it won't. A marketing assistant might use AI to organize ideas and create first drafts, while becoming more valuable by learning brand voice or audience psychology and offering strategy and quality control. Can AI do a phenomenal job about that? Yes, but again, the human element to interpret what AI comes up with and whether or not it's appropriate for your organization is still relevant. And we've all heard and seen the rise of the bots. A customer service team member might use AI to respond more effectively and efficiently, but like me today, I was charged twice by an organization and I responded and the bot said, "Oh fine, I'll give you a refund and cancel your account." And I said, "Yes, but just cancel one of them." And it went ahead and canceled both. A human being rarely would make that error. Now, is AI getting better and faster? Yes. But today, in each of those examples, AI does not simply replace the person. It changes where the person's value sits. And that's the point of intelligent upskilling. You're not merely teaching people how to use a tool. You're helping them move up the value chain. This is where leaders need to be honest with themselves as well. Some businesses say we want employees to use AI, but then they've not created any standards. They've not said this is acceptable, this is not appropriate, this is, I don't use AI here, or if it's used here or there, make sure there's human oversight. That lack of clarity and boundaries creates problems. One person might use AI constantly, another avoids it completely, another copies and pastes sensitive information without thinking about it into AI tools, and then the next thing you know, ... Another uses AI-generated content without checking accuracy. Another quietly worries whether they're falling behind and whether or not they're going to be replaced. That's not an AI strategy, that's organizational guesswork. Upskilling needs to include expectations. People need to know how AI fits into the business. They need to know where experimentation is encouraged, where it's completely out of bounds, where caution is required, and where human review is non-negotiable. They also need permission to ask questions without feeling foolish or without feeling as though, wow, I'm being left behind. I really shouldn't be asking the question about this because maybe they'll then fire me. A good leader doesn't use AI to make people feel small. A good leader uses this moment to create a culture of intelligent learning. So will AI replace your employees? Probably at some point. But today, should you be upskilling? That's a question only you can answer. But the more important thing to look at right now is that employees can become significantly more valuable if they are taught how to work with AI effectively, intelligently, critically, and strategically. And this doesn't happen automatically. People don't become effective critical thinkers overnight, and they certainly don't become effective critical thinkers because they've been to a one-off workshop. This is why organizations that will thrive in this digital era are the ones that invest not only in the appropriate technology, but also in the judgment when it comes to the effective development of their people. They recognize that critical thinking is not a soft skill. It is a business protection skill. It is part of your risk management, and it's a quality control skill. So before you ask, who can AI replace? Consider asking, what could my people become capable of if we approached this effectively? I have an AI-focused session if you'd like to reach out to discuss it. It's at bellastjohn.com/AI coaching. But regardless of what you do, make sure that you're asking the questions that support your organization. Because as AI becomes more capable, the real opportunity is not to make people matter less. It's to help the right people think better and contribute more and to become even more valuable to a world that urgently needs human judgment and critical thinking. So I'm Bella St. John. Thank you for joining me. As always, please do the thing, as Casper Sight says, the like and subscribe. And I'd love to hear your comments. And again, if you'd like to reach out to me, it's bellastjohn.com/AI coaching. Until next time, bye.